Hi guys, Ancient Warrior. Welcome back to Prepping USA. If you like what you hear here, hit the thumbs up. If you don't, oh well. And if you want to be the first kid on your block to know what craziness I'm talking about next, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon and you'll be notified. You know, this is one of the very few videos I've done that I'm actually going to have fun with. Pride in my fellow Americans. Guys, I watched, and I believe the gentleman's name is Maximo Alvarez. He was born in Cuba. He's a naturalized citizen of the U.S. And he gave a stirring speech on Monday night at the convention, at the Republican convention. God, it was great. And he talked about the ills of socialism. And he warned people. But the foolish are not listening. The wise of us are listening. We know. In another video I'm going to talk about who the initial person was that warned us. But not in this one. I also want to pat old Nick Sandmann. He was a teenage boy who went to Washington, D.C. and I think his name was Nathan Phillips, a Native American man, stood in his face, pounding a drum and doing all this to intimidate him. And he just had a little quirky smile on his face. Because they wasn't intimidating that boy. And he wasn't trying to intimidate them. But then the enemies of the state, the enemy of the people, the news media ran with a story on how he was trying to bully that elderly man. You know, he ended up taking a bunch of money from CNN. And the Washington Post, I believe, ended up paying him. New York Times. That young man probably doesn't ever have to worry about working again. But I bet he does. He doesn't hit me as the kind of kid who's going to sit back. He's going to make a name for himself past all this. And the young man who's running for office, paraplegic. And I don't know who the guys was with him that brought the walker out at the end of his speech. You could see the braces on his legs. And he stood up and stood up. He stands for America. I mean, guys like that. Then you've got a few others that I happen to get to see. See, this week's been kind of a whirlwind week for me. Because we're at that end of the season for my business, what I do in the summer. And we're trying to wind down, and I'm doing a lot of extra stuff out there. But I want to tell you, I watched a little bit of the DNC convention. I watched our vice president accept a nomination last night. And the positive message he gave. Folks, that's what we need in this country right now, is we need more positive thinking. We need to stop this apology tour that's going around via the Democrats. I met a couple the other evening I noticed their car had California plates on it. And you could tell that they were moving. And I asked them where they were moving to, and she said, "What makes you think we're moving?" And I said, "Ma'am, let me explain something to you. I see all your stuff in the back of that SUV. Everything you own, just about. And you have a great big, heavy hitch. Tells me you've been pulling a big trailer." And she kind of went, "Yeah." And I said, "Where in California are you from?" She said, "The Los Angeles area." And she was informing me that she is taking a job at Tinker Field in Oklahoma City. And I asked her, I said, "Did you pack up everything that you wanted to bring from California?" And she looked at me. She said, "Well, yeah." And I said, "Did you leave a couple of things back there that you should leave back there?" That's when the confused look came on her face. And I looked at her and I said, "Ma'am, I hope you left your politics and your liberalism way back there in California. Because out here, we don't want it. We've seen what it's doing to New York, California, Colorado, and other places. We don't want that liberalism out here." She kind of walked away, I think a little stunned that somebody would say something like that to her. Before the end of the evening was up, she came back and she said, "Yeah, we've left our politics back there." And I asked her, I said, since I know a little bit about Los Angeles, I said, "Where in LA did you live?" She said she lived in West Hollywood. And I asked her about a couple of places that I knew in West Hollywood. It shocked her that I knew about her. And I laughed and I went on. Folks, people are waking up. Guys like Mr. Alvarez, Nick Sandmann, and the guy from Georgia, and a few others. They're waking people up. I would love to see one thing. I'd love to see a red wave run across this country and let the Democrats know that socialized lifestyle they want to give us is no longer available. We no longer want it. So, with that being said, have a blessed day. And remember, it's better to have and not need than need and not have. I'm the Ancient Warrior, and I'm out.